Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective, and
Collin here.
we are ready to bring you Season 3, Chapter 22 of The Mandalorian, Guns for Hire.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, before we start this episode, let's just go into the longest previously on ever.
Yeah, there was a lot of things in it. I'm like, why are they showing that? And the guy from the episode where Mandalorian gets where Din gets taken by the thing and she chops it.
Yeah.
The eye.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are they showing that? I'm like, did he live?
Did the eye live?
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, no, it comes back later. That's not why they show it. But yeah, it was very long, but it made sense.
yeah.
It was showing you a lot of stuff in that opening scene.
But like that was just like my first note of it. I was like, this was the longest previously. Like it was like a solid like 3-4 minutes. Like it was wild. But nonetheless, like it, and it's true. It did set up a lot because it did like a lot of like pulling some deep cuts from like previous episodes from previous seasons even. Like kind of show up here, and so like
reminding you of characters you haven't seen literally since season 1, which we'll get to almost right away. But
I mean we get the Quarren ship.
Yeah.
We get the the Quarren ship.
This is so cool.
They and for people who aren't familiar, the Quarren also share the same planet as the
Mon Calamari.
Yeah. I forget what the planet name is. Calamari, maybe? No?
I don't know.
Either way, they're on the same planet and they're sometimes rivals and shit.
Right.
So, like, and, like, that's what we get. Like, that's what we're getting here. We get this Imperial ship kind of coming on to them. It was really awesome, though. We see the Quarren captain, like, in the, just, like, water
the water thing,
tube.
I thought that was so cool. Again, this is an episode of Clone Wars. This is not an episode of Mandalorian. It felt so much more like an episode of Clone Wars for better. Like whatever, however you feel about that, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool because it just builds this universe into this bigger thing, and you see things you've never seen before. And it's a little silly at times. This episode, I get it, but that was a cool part.
Yeah,
that was really cool. And then he starts,
mm-hmm.
coming. It like takes it down.
Yeah, the tube comes down, the captain chair kind of comes up, and she just sits there and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get they're hailed by this Imperial ship that is actually piloted by Bo-Katan's
Night
mercs.
Owls. Yeah, the Night Owls are now just mercenaries.
Yeah,
for hire. So they're on a job.
Yeah.
They're looking to take back. It's like a Romeo and Juliet situation going on.
It really is. They're looking to take back another Calamari, Mon Calamari, and Prince back home. Like they ran off. They're star-crossed lovers, and
they're from different like species, kind of. So it's like
I mean, at this point, I would consider it like different houses from the
there you go.
Because
they're not completely different.
Like it really
different
is.
race, maybe.
Yeah. But like it is so funny, like the interaction of like the guy when he comes out and he's like, "No, I will not go back to my parents and stuff. I love you."
Mm-hmm.
And it's adorable.
It's supposed to be this emotional, adorable scene, but it's also a little funny.
And then but like the captain is also like, "I'm not gonna throw away everything I've worked for my people for like some fling." And like he's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that really
it's
like what
fling.
you think? Like she's just like, a fling and stuff?
She said it was a fling and he lost it. But she's basically like, no, just go with them. We need to.
We need to do this like peacefully. Like just go with them. And basically the last thing we get is the Mandalorians. They come on. And the Mon Calamari is like, I thought you Mandalorians were like honorable I believe it's I think the wrestler, it's Sasha Banks, right? Is that who it was? Is like, we are, but just for a few credits or whatever.
Exactly. When you're a mercenary, it's different. When you're a contracted guy, like when you're a contracted person, it's gonna be different.
But they say that long and short, once they get him on there, they're like, we got to drop him off. And then we got to get to Plaisir 15. We have a new contract there.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we see Bo and Din enter the airwaves of Plaisir 15. And they're trying to find the old fleet. They see him over, like, landing in the, I don't know, what would you call it, an open field or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
like on the outskirts of this domed city.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other.
It's a
thing.
kind of a
like,
beautiful like utopia looking city. Like it's like wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are they here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're just kind of, driving along or whatever. Din's like, why don't you just go back and retake them?
Mhm.
Like, they're like, you're their leader. Like, why don't you just go back and do that? And she's like, they follow like wolves. Like, the wolves is their leader, not me. Like,
yeah, which I love that they brought Wolves back because he's from the first season and then they dropped him off in the second season. You didn't really see him, so he must have kind of just left earlier and started his own thing because he lost faith in Bo earlier than
the rest.
Yeah.
And
what is the girl's name? The other girl, Sasha Banks' character.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But they take dude, how about this? Like, how about when the Plaisir 15 people get their ship taken over, or like take over Bo's ship?
Yeah. They just bring her in. I'm like, oh no. Like, I wonder if she could have overridden that if she wanted to. I feel like she could have, but she was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, that would be sweet technology to have.
That
overrides, you know what I mean? So I'm assuming that if she wanted to, she could have overridden it, but she was just like, all right, this must be their custom. We're going in.
Yeah, and like they're also so weird.
Her giving up control, she doesn't like it.
Yeah, not at all. But it's also so weird for them too, because once they get out of the ship, they're greeted by the droids, by the Imperial droids at that, and like. Like you see Din almost like reach for his blaster, like he's got his like.
He doesn't trust droids, but he definitely doesn't trust Imperial droids.
He's definitely not trusting them.
But they've learned to kind of repurpose these droids on this planet, and you notice it right away, and it's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
So they enter into this like tubed rail car thing.
Yeah, it's a hyperloop they call it.
Yeah, basically a hyperloop. Yeah, yeah. So they get taken on that thing, and they're just taking
Kosa Reeves.
Yeah.
Koska Reeves.
Koska Reeves.
I guess she changed her name back to Mercedes.
Okay.
That's beside the point.
Right.
Anyhow, so that's her. But they go to this hyperloop. It's basically a subway. It's like a subway outdoor.
And it's not taking them where they want. It's taking them to where they're going.
Oh yeah, yeah. Taking them to where they're going to what ends up being the like city center. And it's so funny. Like the little voice inside the hyperloop is like, "Oh, do you have jurisdiction to go there?" And they're like, "Well, we have very pressing matters that we need to get to." And it's like, "Well, you will go here first, and then you can talk to the Duchess, and like if you are granted permission, then you can do these things." Mm-hmm. And they get there, and there's a party.
Yeah,
it's like
it seems like there's always a party at this place.
That you're not wrong.
Yeah,
man. You're not wrong in that. But then we get the two.
One question I had about this place is, where's the poor people?
Yeah. Very true.
I mean, they say they got it nice. You'll find out why, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Something seems fishy. Anyway, yeah. So we get to this like party, this royal party going on, and we meet Jack Black and Lizzo
as the bombardier and the Duchess, respectively.
She's royal, and he's kind of just
he's an old imperial scientist, basically.
Right? He's kind of but like what I'm saying, he's like leeching on to the royal.
Oh yeah,
you could totally tell the whole episode. And again, I don't trust him at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like she seems sweet, and she seems to like just be whatever, living the life. But he seems like he has motives.
Yeah.
Anyway,
snake in the grass.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is so funny. Like, we see the frog lady come back too. She's sitting like around at this table.
Yeah.
And then we find out that like Jack Black is a former bombardier is his name. He's a former Imperial. It was like, I don't know, some like engineer or whatever. Started reprogramming droids and everything, and now the droids basically kind of like run everything as he was like working here. Him and Lizzo, the Duchess, fell in love, and the Duchess, Lizzo's family, was the ruling family of Plaisir 15.
Yeah.
And
he made it possible so like there is the working class, it doesn't exist anymore. They don't have to work. The droids just take care of everything, and people kind of got used to it. And they let them know though that some of these droids are going rogue, and they're reverting back to their imperial ways.
Yeah, like they at first it was just well, before we even get there, we get the awesomeness of like Grogu.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Of like
Lizzo, man, what's her name? The character?
Duchess.
Yeah,
no,
the
they
Duchess.
just call her the Duchess.
The Duchess is in love with Grogu immediately, like the rest of us, and her and Grogu are just have great scenes in this.
It's just so awesome. But so we also talk about what's going on here ruling wise. Like we after Lizzo and Grogu, we also find out that like they held democratic elections for the first time. The Duchess and Bombardier were elected.
Democratic elections. I don't know, because they're like,
right?
we just happened to get elected. They loved us.
Yeah.
The ruling family that was already in like, I don't know. Something's fishy.
Right.
Again, anyway, yes, but they did get democratically elected apparently.
But also because he's former and he's a former Imperial, they can't have a standing army. It's part of their charter being a part of the New Republic here. So that's why the Mandalorians are there. Like
the only people that could have guns, but even
Reeves.
wolves, like they aren't allowed to have guns the way on the planet the way Din and Bo are, because they're outsiders more. So like they're able to come in and have their weapons, and it's nice
because they're interculturists.
Yeah,
at one point they
so
say
they have to understand like that having weapons is part of Mandalorian culture.
Right.
So to take that away from Din and Bo would be against their beliefs and their political system.
Because they are not presenting themselves as guns for hire.
Yep.
Where in that sense, like that's where it's like, oh yeah, you can hang out here, but like you're actually hired to be a standing army, and then
very loophole, good loophole, love it.
So like and that's basically what they're doing. That's why they brought them here. That's why they didn't let them originally go out to like meet the rest of the Mandalorians. They need them to investigate what the heck is going on here.
And I think Din is more than happy to investigate some rogue robots because or droids. He's ready to take them out.
He is so happy, and like really one of the best questions Bo asks is, why don't like your constables or whatever, like your police here, take care of it? And they're like, they're not allowed to have blasters.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not allowed to hold blasters or anything.
Yep.
And then the sort of icing on the cake for them to help is Bombardier is like, we will formally recognize Mandalore as a planet within the Republic, or like should be like talked about and formally be brought into the New Republic and stuff. We will recognize
Mandalore, regardless of what the Republic thinks,
which is
a way for them to get into,
which is basically the selling point, I think. Ultimately, like the Din says, like you had him at battle droids to just like go
he was ready to go.
Like,
but Bo was more like, I don't know.
On.
I just want to talk to my.
But to be fair, I think it's the trifecta here for Din. The army with wolves helping Mandalore, the recognition of Mandalore here, and then him being able to just beat up and like destroy some droids. It's like one of his favorite pastimes, if we're being honest. It's kind of weird.
And battle droids especially. He has a bad thing against the battle droids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we get the droid command or the security command, and
Doc shows up. It's crazy from Back to the Future. He just shows up, and you're like, why is Doc here? No, but another large cameo. Christopher Lloyd shows up.
I'm not gonna lie. I knew about this casting. Like, it was pretty big when they broke it. Like,
I remember it too. I just forgot about
it. So I didn't forget about it. I've actually been waiting for it, and like then when I saw him, I was like, oh my god, Doc!
Yeah. There he is. Yeah.
I was like, Uncle Fister.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, it was great. It was cool. He's the one that's like in charge of the droid program.
That basically
he runs the whole thing, and he can shut them down, but he won't because that the planet kind of relies on these droids.
Well, because he's the one who explains it, that the city or the planet passed a law to make sure that there is no droid interruption, which means that the droids are constantly in operation, always working, so that they don't need to do it. And he explains that they can then do R&R, retire crafts, get involved in the direct government that they do. The direct politics.
So they'd rather just deal with finding out the few rogue elements and what's going on and investigate it that way instead of pressing the big red button.
Yeah.
That shuts them all down.
That will shut them all down. And so Bo's like, well, give us the list then. Give us the list of like these droids and all that. And like Christopher Lloyd's like, you gotta go talk to the Ognuts.
Yeah, it's just bureaucracy.
Yeah, right.
But I loved when he said that because I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Well, seeing the Ognuts again is really awesome because we haven't seen them since Quill.
Right.
Since Quill.
I just needed someone to say I have spoken.
Yeah. Right. And then like, so Bo announces herself. And it's just like
shut up.
And they don't even blink an eye at her. Like they literally pay her no attention. But then Din introduces himself. I am Mandalorian Din Djarin, friend of Ognut Quill. You will answer our questions and help us with our task. I have spoken.
And it's so nice. And it's like, oh, he knows how to talk.
Yeah.
So he becomes like the translator, for better or worse, like between
just
them.
Like the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I also gotta say, I love the classic Mandalorian theme that we also got playing, like when he was like, I have spoken. Right after that, we got the theme going and whatnot. I've seen a bunch of TikToks of Jack Black doing interviews and like talking about. Yeah. I love watching the show and like where they interweave it. And
the way he talks about music being magic and stuff too. He's like,
insane, and he's not.
He's like, you could hear this song a million times and never get sick of it because of what it's connected to and this and that. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. But yeah, the Ugnaughts kind of point out at this point, good like a thread that'll be important later, that the droids don't just go bad like this. Like this isn't the.
There aren't real malfunctions.
Yeah, there aren't malfunctions like that. It's not going to happen like that. I have spoken. Like it's something else is going on.
Yeah.
If something's going on, something else is going on. It's not that.
And like to Bo's like credit, she's like, well, we've got these incidents.
Well, they are doing
with
it.
These droids.
Like she's right. They are doing it. They are malfunctioning, but the malfunction's coming from something else.
Yeah,
like is what they're saying.
And exactly. And so
saying it in their weird way, but they say it.
Yeah, and Din, basically talks to him again, like talks about and like really butters their bread. Basically, it's like we know the smithing legends of the Ugnaughts and droids and like the hardest
working. We don't doubt you.
Yeah.
We don't doubt you and your work.
But we're also given a task to perform.
Yeah.
Just like you are.
Yeah. So
we appreciate your help here. And they eventually give over locations of droids that they believe will like have another incident or will be likely for an incident, and I believe it also has like where the current lists
exactly
where the current incidents have happened
and the to help find their location. I like this point too because Din basically says like we owe you one. And, I'm in your debt. I'm in your debt. I have spoken. And that's definitely going to come back around. I think there's going to be a reason because the Ugnaughts I think are going to be important too.
To help in something at least, or at least like being.
I mean, you need to rebuild an army. You're going to need some good mechanics.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And I just love Bo's confusion after that. Like she was like, "What is that?" And like Din's like, "You kind of were insulting him, but I also knew Quill." It's like it's like
he did. Right. I insulted him a lot.
Yeah.
But I figured it out eventually.
Yeah, I figured it out. I figured out how to like talk with him and like speak their language, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking through the information, they're like the docks.
Yeah, we
Docks
gotta go
is-
to the docks. There's
Mhm.
battle droids there being
Mhm.
used to just like carry boxes and like move around equipment, and it's very like inconspicuous at the beginning, and she just knows that there's one of these battle droids on the line has been defaulting, what she thinks is defaulting back to its imperial ways.
Right.
And her and Din's way about going about which one's gonna be the bad one is pretty funny.
Oh yeah, because Bo is talking to the battle droid like commander,
which was awesome to see. Roger.
Yeah,
It was so cool to see one. I love that because it's like, where did they go? Come on, man. Yeah. Where did all these? Why wouldn't you reuse them?
Yeah, why wouldn't you reprogram them and stuff? Especially if they're still completely like workable and everything.
Like I don't think this like planet had a bad idea. Like I think this like it's too much of it's too much of a utopia for me to trust that it's 100% in the good, but also like the idea isn't wrong. Like that's cool. Like sweet.
So so Bo is like grilling this and being like, no, they were just like recertified not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's all fine. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Hey, I wouldn't do that, sir.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. And what he's talking about is Din
just kicking them,
pushing these battle
great.
droids and knocking them over.
And they just kind of like go back to their programming and just use the box and go. And then, but eventually he kicks one, and it
falls over, and then it throws a punch at him, and Bo just turns to the battle droid. Recertified?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
exactly.
like that's so
and
awesome.
the chase is on.
The battle droid is still being like, I told you not to bother them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it was a fun scene, and chase is on, and we're ready to.
The chase is like super cool because like the battle droid is just like throwing things like throughout the like
and you're seeing the city streets and them running through it. And it's really cool.
But then like so they split in the chase. Like Bo keeps running one way, and then Din goes another way through the restaurant, through the window, tackles him.
That's awesome.
Basically, the droid gets up and is like getting ready to like, I don't know, kill Din for lack of a better term, and then Bo just like pops two in its back and like
done.
Yeah. Falls over, lets go of Din, and it's awesome. But they find this little bar plate. I think they call it a spark tab, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but it's something that's connected to it that's not normal.
Yeah, and it has a name of a droid bar called
it's like
the Resistor.
It's very much, this is like the detective part. This is the investigation part. It's like very much finding a matchbook in a perp's pocket that just got killed, and you're going to the club that
they were at or whatever.
Exactly. So yeah, this is awesome. This is so cool. We go to
a droid bar.
A droid bar. So like they're there getting their kicks on whatever
day
juice they're juicing up on. But it also shows, because I've always thought this. I'm like, there seems to be some level of consciousness in these droids, like especially some of them. Like there really seems to be some.
Well, and like after all we've seen with like at least in like R2 and C3PO, there's like clearly like
they've done things that have gone against their like probably like programming for their owners, or like whatever, lack of a better word, friends.
But this droid bar, the Resistor, is awesome. And, Bo's like, let me do the talking. And, like, Din's like, why? What do you think?
Yeah, what do you mean? It is funny. Like, oh, you did your way, and let me do mine. And she goes in there, and kind of they immediately get looked at like
the whole place goes quiet.
Yeah,
it's all like a buzz and alive and stuff, and then like
we don't get your kind around here type of vibe.
It really was.
Yeah.
And they basically, the bartender, they're like, have you seen this spark pad? And he's like, He's like, we have lots of spark pads.
Mm-hmm.
And like, let
Yeah.
me tell you, the droid bartender, like, his like responses are just like obviously
Very
just,
snarky and
yeah,
like, yeah.
it's just so funny. He's like, we have lots of them, and then it's like it's like a case or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
whatever of like all of these things, and they're like, he's like, well, you know, we have been repurposed droids, so we want to help you because like we like our life here, like we don't want to like we feel we can still contribute and stuff. And then it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
they're
man.
like, we don't like this happening more than you don't like it, because this makes all of us look bad, and what will happen is they will turn all of us off if we don't figure out what's going on, so we might as well help you, you know.
And so like that's what they and like you hear all of the droids then like chipping and
and they're like,
yes,
please, like,
please,
we're
like
in,
we want to help
yeah.
you. And so they do a Q&A basically in the back room with the bartender, you know. They're like, get us a record of, you know, drinks, and the bartender's like, that's not how it works here. It's not like with you organics. And let me tell you,
I love organics.
That was hilarious.
Love organics.
It was Nepenthe. Nepenthe.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
It's droid roofies.
Yeah.
Well, no, some of them are droid roofies. Otherwise, it's kind of just it relaxes them a little bit.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a lubricant that protects against mechanical wear, delivering program refreshing sub-particles.
Yeah, it's basically like when you're updating your computer every once in a while to protect against whatever the new thing
thread
is.
or whatever it is.
So they're constantly updating and going to this bar. But some of them are roofied.
Yeah.
They find out.
Yeah. And because, well, Din actually asked the question that you just kind of explained there. He's like, does this stuff reprogram it? And it's like, no, it patches, like, programming in the mainframe and stuff. And then, yes, as they're going through, like, I love this little scene. It's like the, that with the droid going through all the different slides, does find that all of the malfunctioning droids so far have been drinking from the same batch of Nepenthe. And
it'd be like if you went into a bar and like all of a sudden people started dying or like going crazy, and you went to the bar and you're like, they told you like, oh, they've all been drinking out of this bottle of Jameson. Like, oh, okay, let's track back where that bottle of who's been tampering with that bottle of Jameson. Yeah. Like that's the way I looked at it.
Where'd that come from? Who's been touching it? Who's had access to it?
Exactly.
And so that's basically what they're doing, and they find out that they all drank from the same thing. So they go back to the droid that they just destroyed, and they pull out oil from it, basically. And they run a blood alcohol test on it.
Oil alcohol test.
Like an oil test on it. And they find out that there's some nanobots in there.
Yeah.
And there's code chain on these nanobots, and it was made by the Techno Union. And but they've been in cold storage here on Plaisir 15 for a while, and it didn't come through like droid acquisitions though. It was requisitioned by security.
Yeah, so it's an inside job.
And well, yeah, because we also find out that stuff is illegal to do it, and that was wild. Because like we never really heard it up until that point, but like to be fair, again, like this. Plaisir 15, you're right. There's something weird here because it seems like a utopia, but it also seems like they've got a lot of rules and under a lot of like thumb pressure put onto them.
Yeah, it just feels like they're hiding stuff.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to a country that maybe isn't necessarily the best, and they show you the great parts of it when you're a tourist. You know what I mean? They're not going to show you the bad stuff. And I'm not going to lie. At this moment, I really did think it was going to be Bombadier's character or Jack Black's character.
Yeah.
At this point, because I don't trust him still. But it doesn't end up being him. But I definitely thought it was him.
Well, yeah, because like we find out like the woman running the computer for him right here doing all this. It's like there's no record of the transaction. This was illegal. Looks like it was Hellgate, and Hellgate is Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, exactly.
It ordered it. So now they're going back to the security command. And in the security command, they call him out. we know, none of these things just magically malfunction. Like, you programmed them to attack.
And he pretty much just immediately goes button. Like, I will press this. Is like,
I will press the failsafe.
Yeah.
Because it's the same red button that he said before that will shut it all down. Well, really what he did is that he'll reprogram them all to start going back to their original, like, imperial separatist basically kind of programming.
Yeah, and this is a cool moment because he's a separatist. You find out at this moment he is a separatist. He lives by Dooku's and this is like another time. This is a second time I think that someone's called out that they're followers of Dooku, like, you know, and it's interesting to see these different factions and political ideologies outlasting their leaders, just like in the real world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was like really like awesome, and like they give Christopher Lloyd like, you know, a good little speech here.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like, you know, I didn't give up on the corrupt Republic or the Empire, and then
because in my eyes the Separatists kind of have a point too. Like I always understood them a little bit. Dooku was just corrupt.
Yeah.
But so he's still fighting for him,
and that was just awesome.
Yeah.
Because like Bo was the one who was like, "You're a separatist."
Yeah, and he said, you know,
and
friends
like,
cut down by the Jedi.
Right.
Like he said.
Yeah, in the Prime and everything like that, and oh man,
so he doesn't trust any of them. Yeah,
that was so good. I loved getting the separatist being brought back into this like so late, because this is all like post like Return of the Jedi and pre Force Awakens. So like, you know, in theory, from like when we first saw him in like the prequels, this is a long time later. So it was like, it's really awesome to see. But we get back to their, what I called in our notes here, the royal game room basically. And we see the Duchess doing a toss a ball kind of game.
Yeah, it's this cool little game, but like clearly Grogu's helping her cheat.
yeah, it's so awesome.
Yeah, and Duchess is loving it.
Yeah. Duchess is loving it, and Bombadier's like, I've never seen such a throw like that, my sweet, or anything. And like Grogu's just like hanging out by like her leg, being like, yeah. But then they bring in Hellgate.
Yeah, they
in the cuffs.
Yeah. They disarmed. They stopped that situation and got him in cuffs, and they brought him down and explained to them. They unmasked their Scooby Doo, you know.
Yeah.
Their Scooby Doo monster, and it was him all along.
Yeah. It was him all along.
Yeah.
And Jack Black's like, oh, despicable.
Right.
And I wrote it in the notes. It's the Quatek calling the stifling slimy.
Right. Which is another reason he sees through Bombadier's posturing.
Yeah.
That there is something still going on with him, but just because this guy's bad doesn't mean there's not something wrong with him too.
Well, because then we also find out that he actually like served the Duchess and her family for like many years. It seemed like. And that like, you know, like, and she's like,
he does seem to actually feel bad for disappointing her, but at the same time he hates him.
Yeah,
and there's a reason for that. There's got to be a reason for that. Something's going on. He seems to have positioned himself after getting out of the Empire as an Imperial officer into this royal family to kind of, you know, protect himself.
Yeah. I mean, all of that is.
They didn't say it specifically, but yeah. Anyway, this is another cute part because this is when Duchess
exiles him.
Yeah. Well, first she exiles him, and then she knights my little homie Grogu.
Yeah,
which is just so funny.
Yeah, she knights Grogu.
It's like one of those scenes in Star Wars that you're like, oh my god, you're like, oh, this is funny.
Well, he's trained as a Jedi, and now he's been knighted, so technically he's a Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, if we want to
Jedi,
do that,
a
we
Mandalorian Jedi Knight.
Yeah, right. But she of course says like, yes, you can go have your audience with the Mandalorians out there. You know, like you've absolutely like done your deed, done what we've asked for you. So like, really, thanks. Walking up to it though, like, you know, Bo's still like, I'm not their leader, you know. Wolves is their leader, and you know, Din's like, well, what's your play? And she's like, you'll know when I get there.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, they Wolves asks, "Are you gonna join?
Yeah.
Like, are you here to join the
Hey,
mercs?"
you here to come? Yeah, finally come make some money.
Yeah, and she's like, "Nope, I'm here to
Retake
get my fleet."
Yeah, he's
I'm
like, your fleet.
Yeah.
You talking about?
It's like I'm fond of it
yeah,
now.
yeah, he likes it,
Mhm.
and he has no reason to follow her because he does believe in the Darksaber
Yeah.
mythos, and he's also not willing to follow Din. I don't think, you know. But they challenge each other. Or,
Yeah,
you know,
she
challenges
challenges him.
and he's like, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, and the fight is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The music
Because this is just
amazing.
two Mandalorians going at each other, and it's just them using their
Yeah, it's just them.
abilities, and it's just awesome.
It's so good.
And she takes him down, and
Yeah.
proves that she still should be leader. And but it's like, you know, you can't be because you still don't have the Darksaber.
And Wolves is like, yeah, but you don't have the Darksaber. That's what we believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you know, he may walk the way, and like that's something that I love. Like Bode being like, no. He is every bit a Mandalorian.
Yeah,
that any
she's
one of
trying
us
to say
here.
like we should be following him. Like like he's got it.
Yeah.
Like she's got his back kind of at this point. Like it doesn't matter who's got it. We just want to be together. Like let's go. It's great.
And but Wolves is like, you should be challenging him.
Yeah.
You know,
which is like, she's like, no, I've done that before. I've seen 2 civil wars in her lifetime. Like, no, I'm done fighting Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that so much. It's like, no, we need to get together. And this is when Din drops the bomb.
Yeah, it's like, and you know,
that's why they show that scene in the opening.
Yeah, because he's like, she will have it again, and she and like everyone's like, yeah, okay, do this. Like it's gotta be won in battle, and like and then like Bo's like, hey, that's nice, but like again, it can't be a gift, and he's like, this isn't a gift, and he's like, and then he goes into the story exploring Mandalore from the previously on, of like he was like, Bo defeated the enemy that defeated me.
Yes.
So
with the Darksaber too.
Yeah. With the Darksaber. So therefore, doesn't that make the Darksaber belong to her?
And you see their wheels spinning, like they are like,
and they were all like,
yes. So he gives it to Bo. Bo holds that up, and they're just we are ready.
I don't know if I actually said it when we recorded our episode together for that, but dude, it looked like when she was using it that it was like meant to be. It looked a lot smoother than it's ever been with like Din, and he's always had.
Din's never been able to use it. I don't think he cared about using it. I don't think he cared about it. He cares about Grogu and this other stuff. She cares about taking back Mandalore, and yes, their ideals align, but they're not. He just doesn't. He wasn't willing to train and stuff in that. It wasn't. It's not his forte, and she you know, it is. I think rightfully hers. But yeah, I think this is also going to be. She lost it before to Moff Gideon. We don't know how. We don't know when that happened. If it just was an attack, and he considered that beating her. You know what I mean? Like he bombed her and she was knocked out and he took it. Yeah. Because that could technically, you know, or if it was a 1-on-1, which I don't know.
I doubt that.
Because he got taken out by Din pretty easily, and Bo's maybe a better fighter than even Din. She can
clearly hold her own. We just saw it.
For sure.
We just saw it.
She was trained as a royal, like, so she got the best training, whatever.
Absolutely. But yeah, I loved it. You know. And
it was a little sillier, but like the moments with Duchess and Bombardier, there were silly moments, but again, it felt like such a good episode of Clone Wars. Like it felt like this just like random episode of something in Star Wars. You knew you were in Star Wars again, but it was just so fun, and
it really did.
Bryce Dallas Howard's a killer.
Yeah, and Bryce Dallas Howard directed this episode. It was really great. I loved where Din is handing it over, though, and he's like, let me return the blade to its rightful owner. And
so the Mandalorian in this episode is clearly Bo-Katan. Yeah. Like, and I'm glad that they give Bryce Dallas Howard the Bo-Katan heavy episodes, because she seems to know exactly what to do with her character. And it's almost like, you know, Filoni wrote parts of it because parts of the last episode because Zeb was in it and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like there's certain people who know how to work with certain characters, and
Yeah.
I love that they're figuring that out.
Yeah, I really love this episode. I really love The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it was so fun.
I thought it was
Not
really
that there's
great.
two. For a second, I thought there was only one episode left. I'm like, that was such not a good episode for before the season finale. And then I'm like, oh, okay, no, we got
there's
2 more.
2 more.
Yeah,
Super excited.
and we just got a whole fleet of Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And Moff Gideon, we still haven't heard from him.
I think next episode will be a Moff Gideon kind of episode.
I hope so. I hope so.
I mean, like, it would be even like, dude, they could even do like a standalone, like truly just like all Moff Gideon.
Yeah, we were talking about it like a Crosshair, like in Bad
Mhm.
Batch, how they would just go off and tell a
Crosshair episode. Yeah.
I don't see why not. You could bookend it with some some Din and Bo stuff, and totally
like,
go off.
yeah.
I mean, they've already done it with the episode where they have the scientists, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
They
I'm
get-
interested. I can't wait. I can't wait for next week. And this was a good episode, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective.
I'm Collin.
And we want to thank you all for joining us here for The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. Please like and subscribe to our video, and we hope you all stay safe. And as always, this is the way.